Wednesday, January 15th, 2020. I'm Asher Westrop-Evans, and these are the top cryptosphere stories for today. Altcoins are leading the charge on the most recent crypto rally. Dare we call it alt season? A twist in the legal saga surrounding self-proclaimed Bitcoin inventor Craig Wright. And finally, the UN warns developers to stay away from a blockchain conference in North Korea. Crypto markets have seen an explosive 48 hours after a months-long period of relative stagnation. Bitcoin has now climbed a healthy 6% on the week, but the real story here is BSV. The controversial Bitcoin hard fork surged at its peak, a whopping 400% since the start of the year. And it seems alt season may well be upon us. For more details on this story, we spoke to Bobby Ong, founder of crypto data site CoinGecko.
If you look at the charts, like everything is up. Like if you look at the past 7 days, Bitcoin gained 6%, but look at the gains between for BSV 200%, Litecoin gaining 20%, EOS gaining 28% over here, Tron going up 15% as well. So Dash has gone up 100%. So yes, to a large extent, you can say alt season is back. Of course, the question is how sustainable this is, whether this will go on for a longer period of time or it's just a short 7 days increase is anybody's guess. So yes, we should see how things go in the coming weeks.
Now, speaking of BSV, hard fork creator and self-proclaimed Satoshi Nakamoto, Dr. Craig S. Wright, has a new twist on his ongoing mission to prove himself as the true Satoshi. With an ongoing court case set to come to a head next month, Wright now claims he has the proof necessary to show he can access Bitcoin wallets linked to Satoshi himself. Here to break down this convoluted tale, we have our very own black hat, Yona Hochhauser. Now, Yona, this story is so convoluted, so confusing, many across the crypto space aren't necessarily able to get their heads all the way around it.
Yeah, exactly, Asher. It is a really complicated case, especially when it comes to Craig Wright, because he's all over the place, even in his testimony. But everyone seemingly in the cryptosphere has an opinion on it. We actually spoke yesterday to Dan Held of Kraken about how he thinks Craig Wright it fits into this whole story of the BSV price jump. Let's take a look.
If you believe in Craig Wright, you kind of, I think, lose a ton of respect as a human being who has the capability of having rational thought. If you continually ignore all sort of data-driven thinking or any sort of factual-based sort of analysis, then you believe in Craig Wright. And so for Craig Wright, he knows his followers can be easily manipulated because they perceive him in this sort of godlike way. So what I think he's going to do is there's going to be some sort of lengthy explanation why his courier didn't bring him a private key, or why he can't access these coins as Satoshi, because he set up some sort of overly complicated, of course it's all false, but some overly complicated story about how he can't access his coins. And what he'll do is he'll ask the Bitcoin BSV blockchain, whether it be the miners or the nodes, in conjunction to accept a hard fork, or to accept a hard fork that forks over those coins into his control.
All right, now while Dan's frustration, anger at the story may have been generally on point, there were some key details he didn't get quite right about the Craig Wright story, correct?
Right. Since then, there has been some updates to the story. So essentially what happened before Dan gave his statements was that the court was trying to make Craig Wright give over the Bitcoin. He said he didn't have access to the Bitcoin. So they said, great, so give us a listing of your holdings, giving a list of all the Bitcoin addresses that you do have. And essentially what we were waiting for yesterday was a bonded courier that Craig Wright claims that he set up years ago that was set to deliver on January 1st the access to this encrypted file. It wasn't exactly clear what was in the encrypted file, but the encrypted file dealing with the Tulip Trust that has over 1 million Bitcoin, or about $9.8 billion in it. And essentially that's what happened yesterday. He informed the court that he received the last missing shard of the key to open or access this encrypted file. Now, many have been reporting that this encrypted file that has access to this actually gives him the private keys. He handed over the list to the courts, and you're able, and that's the problem here. It's kind of confusing because according to the court documents, he's able to access the file. We're not sure. In the past, he said and this is Craig Wright in court, in the court of law, he said in certain instances during this court case that the file contains the private keys and the list of addresses. And other times he says the file does not contain the private keys. And it's very tough to follow this case exactly because 2 judges already have called him a liar. I mean, when it comes to Craig Wright, he's all over the place. An interesting thing, most news agencies reported that he did have the keys. Okay, now Tim Copeland of Decrypt, he actually tweeted out, everyone got the story wrong. Craig Wright said that the list of addresses would arrive, not the private keys. He goes on to quote Craig Wright, who Craig Wright gave a post on his website in the end of December saying that he will receive the information in January, but not necessarily the private keys. Now, yes, Craig Wright did say that, but he also, in the court documents, said at certain points that he will receive the private keys. So I think that Craig Wright is being on purpose vague. He's being purposely vague here to once again, these seemingly are stolen tactics because we don't know if this courier exists. The judge himself of the case, herself said she doesn't believe that there is a courier. Now, what has been the Kleiman state's response to this latest development?
Right, that's the partner who was involved in the mining operation.
Yes, the family, the estate of the partner who Craig has to share all this tulip trust with. So the estate has responded to this latest development, saying, "Hey, cool, you claim a courier brought this missing piece. We see you giving us 16,404 addresses. We're going to check these addresses because it's possible, it's a blockchain. It's possible Craig just gave them 16,000 addresses. There's no proof they're his. Plus, they're asking for proof that this courier exists. They're saying, hey, who is this courier? What's his identity? We want to speak to this person to see if this is even real. Once again, when it comes to Craig Wright, you just can't know exactly what's going on.
Right, certainly a convoluted story somewhere between a game of Zelda and a Rubik's Cube. Regardless, we are seeing BSV pump. We'll have to see how this one plays out. Yona Hochhauser, thank you so much for bringing us that story. All right, and the latest trend for coin launches has come under fire from the SEC. In an advisory released January 14th, the SEC issued an investor alert for IEOs. The agency claims that despite exchanges' claims otherwise, that IEOs are similar to initial coin offerings, or ICOs, in that they are initial offerings of digital assets to raise capital. And these products may be in violation of the federal securities laws. Crypto investors have already weighed in on this declaration, and we spoke with Bruce Fenton, CEO and founder of Atlantic Financial.
It doesn't matter what you call it. Most ICOs were securities and they were offered not in compliance with the law. A lot of them broke the US rules in the way that they were offered. Changing the name to something else doesn't change that. So everything is going to be subject to these rules. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that just means more companies are going to need to do what we did and what a lot of other companies are doing, which is go the harder route and get those licenses and do the things that you need to do. And there's a lot of companies doing that now. But at least in the United States, where we operate, there really isn't a choice. These rules have been around for a very, very long time, and it's clear that the SEC is going to enforce them very strictly.
And Ripple is having its day in court today to answer the age-old question of whether XRP truly is a security, a commodity, or something else entirely. A decision which could have a huge impact on how the third largest cryptocurrency is regulated in the United States. In a recent conversation on financial news site Cheddar, CFTC Chairman Heath Tarbert commented on the matter facing US regulators.
Will more cryptocurrencies, like a Ripple, for instance, fall under your purview in addition to Bitcoin and Ether?
It's unclear. Stay tuned, I would say. Part of the issue is our jurisdiction we share with the SEC. If it's a security, it falls under their jurisdiction. If it's a commodity, it falls under ours. So we've been working closely with the SEC over the last year or so to really think about which falls in what box, because I think if I hear anything from market participants, it's that we really need clarity. That without clarity, it's really difficult to figure out how these will eventually be regulated and how to trade them.
But it seems XRP's most avid fans have already made their minds up, with XRP expert Matt Hamilton taking on the claims of US regulators.
This meeting is about the mechanics of the case itself and not the actual substance of the case. But as far as I see it, it can go either one of two ways. Either the case can be dismissed on a technicality, or it doesn't get dismissed at this point and the case lumbers on. Either way, we get the same result and nothing really changes. Either outcome has no material effect on XRP itself, and no further regulatory clarity. Sure, there may be some price movement as the crypto tabloids and the Moon Boys put their respective spin on things. However, XRP does not give you a claim to anything, nor does it give you the right to participate in anything. In fact, buying XRP legally entitles you to nothing more than buying Bitcoin, the ownership of a decentralized digital asset. In that respect, whether the lawsuits are eventually meaningful or with respect to the legal nature of XRP or not, today's factual reality is that no buyer is participating in Ripple's decisions, earnings, or losses. The adoption of XRP worldwide as part of a growing system of decentralized digital finance is growing regardless. It's hard to quantify exactly, but just as one yardstick, there were 82 new exchanges listing XRP last year alone, bringing the total to 388 exchanges with nearly 50 different fiat pairings. So 2020 is going to be a very interesting year.
All right, it's now time for Troll of the Day, and today's troll proves no one is above reproach. Going to that most esteemed of institutions, the United Nations, which, according to a Reuters exclusive, is warning people not to attend the highly anticipated North Korean cryptocurrency conference coming up in February. Now, this warning may unfortunately have come a little late for one Virgil Griffith, whose adventures in the Hermit Kingdom have left him with a little whoopsie straight into the US penal system. Perhaps Griffiths should pay a little more attention to UN warnings in the future. All right, and that was Around the Block for today. Thank you for watching, and for more blockchain, tech, and cryptocurrency news, visit us at blocktv.com. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.